give a very warm good evening to all of you, and thank you so much for joining this meet. Now, I am Rohit Kumar Chaudhary. I am from second year Computer Science and Engineering, and we are all together gathered over here to complete our YES course. Now, let me brief you about what is YES. So, YES is basically Youth Empowerment Seminar, and it is an 8 session seminar in which we will be covering all the aspects which will be helping or which will be act as a prerequisite in practicing leadership in our life. And so it will be my mere request that please complete this course with your utmost genuineness. Now, coming to our today's session, the topic for today's session is giving better or giving the art of giving public speeches. So the first question which comes to our mind is that why it is necessary to give public speeches? We can communicate in a small circle, right? But the main and the obvious question answer to this question comes is that it allows us to form connections. It influences our decisions and it motivates the changes. It helps us in advancement in our career. It help us in development of our mental ability, critical thinking ability, and in turn we get a kind of personal satisfaction. So for guiding us through this field, we have a well-known leader of his field, Mr. Jitendra sir with us. Now I would like to take an opportunity to introduce Jitendra sir. Sir, am I properly audible to you?
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. And now, sir is currently working at Goldman Sachs in New York. Sir has completed his BTech from Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, Pune. And sir has completed Masters, MS from State University of New York, USA. Sir has also worked with EQ Technologies in the Pune. And sir was the best outgoing student of VIT Pune. Sir has written and published many articles on wisdom literature. Thank you so much, sir, for giving your presence to all of us and guiding us. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. And can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, art of public speaking, right? And again, thank you all for being here. Sorry for this last minute glitch that happened. This is quite unexpected actually, but then I don't know. You have to be prepared for such technological issues that you might face before presenting to someone. So again, thank you very much. I'm really happy to be with all of you today. And this youth empowerment seminar, this is a really amazing course that you have all enrolled for. And I really hope and pray that you get the most out of it. And I can. Am I putting those lines on the screen?
Yes.
Why am I doing that? Now, how do I hide it? Okay. Strange stuff happening today. Anyway, so yeah, so I hope and pray that I can do some, I can speak something that is beneficial for you. So of course, the public speaking domain is a very huge domain, and this is not an exhaustive presentation that I'm giving today on the art of public speaking. There are other more qualified speakers in the industry who have spoken about this, and you will get a lot of insights just if you search how to, the art of public speaking or something. But this, I guess, coupled with my own experiences and your feedback, I guess that is what will make this a really beneficial presentation. Okay, so art of public speaking, we did discuss this in the beginning, but we'll again discuss it a little bit. So why, right? Why do we need to have the art of public speaking? We might think that, hey, main to engineer hu yaar, why do I need public speaking? Okay, if I'm just good at what I'm doing, if let's say I'm a computer programmer, if I'm good at computer programming, why do I need all this public speaking nonsense, right? So that we'll see why, the why part, before we go into the actual topic, and then we'll see what we do before the presentation, right? How do we prepare and things like that, and then during the presentation, very important part as well, and then after the presentation, finally, right? What do we do after the presentation? So coming to the why, right? So you can all share just briefly, why do you all think that we need presentation, like we need presentation skills, we need the art of public speaking? Why do you think so? I mean, this is again, I want you all to come out of your shyness or whatever and speak up if possible, rather than just putting it in the chat. Yeah. Anyone? Why do you think you need public speaking?
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sir, to express ourselves in front of public, is to
Yeah.
express our whatever we want to say in front of public, whatever topic.
Yeah.
Something from this. Yeah.
True. And public only doesn't mean that we have to speak in front of 1,000 people and, change the world and things like that. Even, addressing your family is an important part of your life, where if you have certain ideas, let's say, of course, on a funnier side, if you want a new MacBook from your father, okay, so, or an iPhone from your father, so you need to be able to present that well to your father, right? What are the benefits of an iPhone and things of that nature, right? So just okay on the funnier side. But yeah, on a serious note though, we all end up in situations in life where we have to present something to someone, we have to express something to someone, and it is really important the way we do it, right? We need to get the message across. Okay, we just don't have to get the message right, but we need to get the message across as well. Okay, some Aniket is saying to represent something. Yes. Rashi, to build our confidence. Yes, that is very important. When we see that we are able to communicate effectively, when people are able to understand what we are saying, then it helps them to actually, it helps us to build our confidence. Yes, definitely. So we'll see a few statistics as well, right? So fear of public speaking cuts wages by 10%. Wages means salaries in the industry, any overall the industrial landscape, right? Which includes IT and stuff. And then fear of public speaking inhibits promotion to management by 15%. Okay. So like we have this post called managing director in our company Goldman Sachs, and that is a really coveted, like people really work like 15-20 years of their lives, they slog like anything to make it to managing director, right? So but one of the important skills they need to have is how to address an audience. Okay, until and unless you have that, you can't survive as a managing director, right? So these are some interesting statistics. We'll keep seeing such interesting statistics as we go. So for students, right, since you are all students, so what is the importance of public speaking? So speaking in front of everyone is inevitable, right? I was an intern in Goldman Sachs in 2018, and what they had told us was you should make a 30-second pitch, 30-second elevator pitch, they called it. So what this elevator pitch is that let's say you come into the office, you take the elevator, you're going to your floor, and then you see someone, okay, you see someone, and then that person, he asks you, oh, are you an intern? What are you working on? Okay, what's your background? What are you working on? So in that elevator ride, which is a few seconds, I guess, you have to kind of summarize whatever you're doing in a way that is interesting and in a way that appeals to the person you're speaking to, right? So we were told to make this 30-second elevator pitch. And yeah, so you never know, right? You enter the elevator along with some big shot in the company, and then that big shot likes the way you do this. Somebody tries to do it again. Anyway, being a good speaker will complement being a good leader, right? So if you're a good speaker, then that's an additional advantage for you when you want to become a good leader, right? And then So practicing public speaking will make you a better communicator. We all just discuss that as well, right? And being comfortable with public speaking will help you in an interview setting. Ultimately, you would want to get some job, or of course, some of you might decide to come to the United States, maybe, or go to the IITs for your masters or something, or do something like open your startup, right? But in any case, this, and most of you actually will go for an interview, get a job, right? And this art of public speaking will help you in that interview setting where you won't have to become nervous or anything, right? And then finally, it can boost your confidence like anything, right? So it can boost your confidence when you're able to communicate well with others, right? So now that we've established the importance of public speaking, now we'll go towards the actual topic. So what do we do before the presentation, right? So more statistics. 77% of the population has some level of anxiety regarding public speaking. 90% of the population reports some shyness, and 74% of the respondents on a survey admitted to having speech anxiety. So these are real problems that happen. And then the way to, the way to get overcome these problems, I guess, is to prepare properly, right? So going ahead. So prepare, of course. I mean, ये क्या नया बता रहे हो यार? Prepare तो करना ही पड़ेगा. ऐसी थोड़ी, सुबह उठ के presentation देने चले के. It doesn't happen that way. Yes, you have to prepare. But then you have to prepare however familiar the topic may be, right? You might have presented the same topic hundreds and hundreds of times over, or you might have spoken to the same set of audience so many times, right? But still, it's always better to prepare, okay? And then even before you set into the classroom or stage, you need to have an idea of the entire flow of your talk, okay? The beginning, the middle, and everything. You can write your entire talk down, okay? This is very important. Sometimes we feel, am I putting too much emphasis on this preparation? Itna karna chahiye kya? And things like that. But no, karna chahiye. You should do it because it's very important to know the flow of your talk. See, if you talk something, if you start talking about something and you suddenly disconnect that and you go to some other topic, it's not good for the audience. It's not good for the flow. The audience will not be able to retain their attention, okay, which is another very important point that we'll see, okay? So you should have a flow of your entire talk. And then rehearse, okay? This is something I have been doing quite often recently before my presentations, and it has helped me immensely. Rehearsing actually is a very important part, because what happens is when you rehearse, you kind of, if you get stuck in the flow, you kind of realize that when you're rehearsing, and then you can go back and modify your slides and modify your flow so as to not get stuck at that place. So rehearsing is extremely important. So I really suggest you, whenever you present some topic, rehearse it well. So I think as I think I assume all of you are doing engineering. So in engineering, I think in a second or third year, you have something called as a seminar, where you will be told to choose a topic, or you will be given a topic, and you have to present on that topic. You have to do your literature survey, and then you have to, have an implementation too, I guess, and then present your results to the concept and the results to your class. Okay. So this seminar is one of the things that you have to do, and you're evaluated on the way you present, what's your topic, the interestingness of the topic, etc. So it's very important that you rehearse at that time, because if you don't rehearse, then you'll be a laughing stock, just like I was a laughing stock in the beginning of the talk, and maybe still am. Okay, so rehearsals are very, very important. And then yes, this is a very important point actually. Not just the content, okay, not just the content you have to prepare for, not just the flow of your talk, but there are certain other things that you should prepare for. What are those things? So the purpose, what is the final goal of your presentation, and what you want to convey to the audience? Aisa nahi ki, just I got an idea in the morning, I went to the college in the afternoon, presented it, no goal, nothing. That should not happen. There has to be a purpose. There has to be kind of a take-home message for the audience after your presentation. So you have to know the goal of your presentation, because once you know the goal of your presentation, you have a clear direction in which to go, right? The next is you have to know your audience, right? This is again a very important point, because sometimes we assume things. Sometimes we feel that, okay, the audience that I'm talking to already knows the terms that I'm going to use in my talk, okay? But then the audience might not know all those terms, and then you're just blabbering, phek rahe, ye shabd phek rahe, wo shabd phek rahe. Audience is not able to understand what is going on, okay? That is again, the point is not just to get it right, but to get it across too, right? You need to get it across. If you don't get it across, then that presentation will just be for your own self. It won't be beneficial in any way to the audience that you're talking to, right? So you need to choose proper words and decide on the level of information. You need to know your audience. You need to know what level of expertise, what level of knowledge, what level of familiarity they have with the topic, right? So another thing is environment. This is again very important, and this goes back to the glitch that we had in the beginning of the talk, where I was trying to present on Google Slides, but you were all seeing the speaker notes, right? This is it's a very bad way of doing it, actually. So I assumed, just because it has worked previously, I assumed that it will work today as well, right? Because I have presented the such topics before with Google Slides, and it had worked on Zoom, and now I thought, okay, it will work, right? So I was comfortable. I got comfortable in the wrong way, right? And then we all wasted like what, 10-15 minutes in that whole thing. So it is important to get comfortable at the place where you will be speaking, right? Yes, if it's a classroom where you've attended hundreds of lectures, or I don't know if nowadays people attend lectures. We used to like bunking lectures, but don't do that. It's an important thing to attend lectures, because if you attend your lectures, I realized later on in my engineering, I started attending lectures when I understood the importance, and I found that half of my preparation for the exams was in the lecture itself. If I completely focus during the lecture, that's half of my preparation for the exam right there. Okay, you don't have to rack your brains to understand a concept that was taught. You don't have to you're in the flow of the semester. You don't miss out on anything. So it's a good thing to attend classes. So now you've attended hundreds of classes. You know how the classroom is. इस कॉर्नर पे या वो सोने वाला बंदा बैठता है, उस कॉर्नर में वो डब्बा खाने वाला बंदा बैठता है. All those things, but still you haven't been on the spot where the teacher is. So that is the important thing. Now you have to go and you have to rehearse on that spot. Rehearse, or if you don't have that facility to go and rehearse, at least go stand there, get a feel of things. Okay, get a feel of things, how you feel as a teacher presenting to others, right? So that is the environment. You need to be familiar with the place. Okay, of course, for online presentations, this is not so much of a problem, because I am nicely sitting here at home and giving my presentation, but still, why to take a chance, right? You should not do that. So I remember, like, for example, a simple thing, if you have a laptop, if you're presenting on a laptop, you need to make sure that the laptop is fully charged, at least charged enough for the presentation to go, or make sure that you have put the charging cord inside. Otherwise, in the middle of the presentation, you will realize, ye to battery khatam hone aa gaya. So then you'll start running to get your charger and things like that. So don't do those things. Get familiar with the environment, get familiar with the audience, know your purpose of presentation. Very important. So once you know all these things, and once you prepare well, like the flow and the other things, that is when it will be your this thing will be complete. Okay. So thank you, Ayushman. That is actually helping me ignore the distractions, right? So yes, some good practices, if you have slides to present, okay, and do not put too much text in one slide. पूरा paragraph ले लिया book में का फेंक दिया slide में, पढ़ो, बैठ के पढ़ो सब लोग. so jayenge, they will all sleep in the class, right? Do not put too much text in one slide. And then use pictures to illustrate concepts. It is said that a picture speaks 1,000 words, right? Okay. What is that, sir? Your salary. Oh, so Ayushman wants to know my salary. I guess let's try to understand how to present well. Salaries and all will follow, right? Good question. Very good and relevant question. But again, in order to stop such distractions, is there anything we can do, organizers?
Sir, that screen sharing like unused option is there. At that, there's more options.
Advanced sharing options.
There more
Right.
options.
More, okay.
Okay, their audience like
Disable annotations for others. Done. Okay. Thank you. This was what I was looking for. So yeah, Ayushman, keep that question with you, man. And don't think about salary as of now. Just try to become a good engineer. If you keep thinking about salary now itself, you will become distracted from your studies, and then you will mess up, and then you will not get the kind of salary you might be expecting, right? So don't worry about the salary as of now. As far as my salary is concerned, it's good enough for me to sustain myself. It's good enough for me to sustain my family. So that's your answer for you. Okay. I can't speak more than that. So off topic. But yes, since Ayushman brought up this important topic of salary is something that you get as a result of the hard work you do, right? Similarly, when you're presenting something, the appreciation that you get, the thumbs ups that you get after a presentation are like the result of the presentation. But if you, even while preparing for the presentation, if you keep thinking of that, oh no, people, how they will appreciate me, whether they will appreciate me or not, what will they say about my presentation? Don't think about all those when you're preparing. When you're preparing, just prepare, put your full heart into the preparation. Okay. Just like when you're doing your engineering studies, put your full heart in your engineering studies. Don't think about what salary you will get and things like that. It's a valid question, not that it's not a valid question, but it's not a question you have to worry about right now. Okay. Another thing, do not read the presentation. Okay. Sometimes we put a lot of text and all we do is sit and read that presentation. We are not even looking at the audience. We are just looking at the slides and we are reading the presentation. So that is a big no. Don't do that. Have a flow, have bullet points on which you expand. Then use sound effects and slide transition only if necessary, and you're sure they won't distract the audience. Sometimes we feel, yeah, let me put each bullet point comes, it should come as woof, woof, something like that, some audio effects and things like that. But it's not required. Usually in professional presentations, it's not really required. So yeah, but if you feel that it will help, you can do it. But again, it goes back to knowing your purpose, knowing your audience, and knowing the environment well. If you think it will add to the value of the presentation, then please do it. And then do a brief overview in the beginning and in the end, right? This is again a nice practice that you can follow, where you don't just start off with the topic. So you give the audience an idea of what they can expect, what they should expect from the presentation. And then once you do that, then you go into the topic, and then at the end, just give a brief summary. Okay, this is all what we learned. And then bullet points should appear one at a time, the way I am doing, right? So what happens with this is, so let's say you put all the bullet point once in one slide itself, and you just present that slide as it is. So what the problem with that is, you are talking something. So yeah, luckily there are no machars here. in New York City. But yeah, please close the door, whoever that was. So bullet points should appear one at a time, okay? Because if you don't do that, then the audience will be busy in reading the bullet points that you've just, dumped on them. So instead of that, if each bullet point keeps coming one by one, then that will be a very nice flow. And then you put one bullet point, you talk about that bullet point, and then you keep on bringing out the other points, right? Okay, more statistics, right? 70% of your time should be dedicated to writing and structuring your script for a better presentation. So 2 days is the time Steve Jobs used to prepare for a presentation, right? So the presentations that we see of him releasing certain products, it is not just, okay, udhar chala gaya Steve Jobs, and de diya. He prepares very nicely for 2 days. I don't know if you've seen the documentary on Steve Jobs. Like it's like a kind of a movie in that his life is shown. And yeah, but he was an amazing presenter actually. And the way he used to present actually has increased the value of Apple a lot. Okay, and then 20%, adding facts and figures improves the audience attention by 20%, right? Just giving out some concept, just giving out some idea, and not presenting some figures, some facts and figures. It'll make it all boring, right? So for instance, coming back to the seminar that you have to give, let's say you present an idea, let's say you present an algorithm, for example, to solve a particular problem. And then you claim that this algorithm is going to improve the efficiency of the task that you're doing. Now, just saying that it will improve the efficiency is good. But then if you say that, okay, this will improve the efficiency as compared to this older method by 50%, maybe. That will, when you quantify that will immediately make it very relatable to the audience. Yes. If my code was spending like 10 minutes to do some task, by using this algorithm, it will take only 5 minutes. So adding facts and figures always helps, right? So this is just, I'm talking on with the perspective of your seminar that you have to do later on in your engineering, but this applies for all the presentations that you make, right? Practice before the mirror. Okay, aine ke samne jaake you should practice and then you have to observe yourself what you're doing, right? And then present before your friends and roommates. Okay, and don't make them regret for helping you out, right? So don't make them feel that kahan bitha diya, I would have gone to the canteen and had nice food, but this guy has made me sit here and listen to his presentation, right? So don't do that. But you can definitely have some good feedback from them. Record yourself and watch it later with a fresh mind and have a good laugh, right? But yeah, this is also very important to find out where you can improve, and which flows you can modify, which points you missed that you should write down, and things like that. And then, if required, do more recordings and see how you improve slowly, gradually. Okay, now that was before. Okay, lot of things we discussed for the before part of the presentation. Now during the presentation, what do you do during the presentation, right? So this is like a survey conducted on presentation effectiveness. So what really makes your presentation effective? What are the quantities? Okay, how to overcome nervousness during presentation? Haresh's question. Yes, Haresh, that's a very, very important question. And we'll discuss that at the end of the session when we'll have a Q&A. Okay. So presentation effectiveness, right? So it is said that the content that you prepare contributes to only 7% of the effectiveness of the presentation. Now this is like, hey, what are you saying, man? You spoke so much about preparing for the presentation, having a nice flow and blah, blah, blah. And now you're saying that whatever I prepared before, the content, it's going to be only 7% important. This is outrageous. How can you say that? No, but there is a caveat there. I'll tell you what that is. Okay. Anyway, so 7% effectiveness is based on the content. 55% of your effectiveness is based on the body language, on what body language you have. And then 38% is your voice. Okay. Again, your voice doesn't mean it has to be like Sonu Nigam's voice, and you're coming and singing. No, your voice means whether it's clear enough for people to understand and things like that, right? So now this is interesting. Okay, so we put so much emphasis on preparing the content properly, preparing the flow properly. But now here it says that it's only 7% important. Okay, how is that? Now, actually, the preparation that you did before the presentation, actually, if you look at it, contributes to the body language and your voice. Because if you haven't prepared, if you haven't put enough effort to prepare for your presentation before the presentation, then your body language is going to be all messed up. Your voice will be faltering. You won't be able to speak with a clear voice and things like that. So that way you can understand that the content and the flow actually, and the preparation that you do before the interview, that actually ends up affecting your body language and your voice during the presentation. The lesser you prepare, the more nervous, as somebody mentioned, nervousness, the more nervous you will be during the presentation, because you don't know what's going to come next, what's on the next slide. You don't know that, right? Anyway, some more statistics. 8 to 10 minutes is the average audience attention span, right? 8 to 10 minutes. And then 14% of the audience engagement drops. The audience engagement drops by 14% if the speaker does all the talking. If the speaker is a badbad kar raha hai, he's not allowing the audience to speak, he's not allowing Ayushman to ask the speaker's salary, ऐसा हो गया ना, तो क्या होता है ना, Ayushman will lose interest in the presentation, right? So don't do that. Have an interaction and things like that, which we will do. We did in the beginning, we will do in the end. Okay. Now, another more important points during the presentation: show your confidence, even if you don't feel it. Okay, you should show confidence. And then even if you make mistakes, you should pick yourself up and continue. Don't keep thinking about, oh, that slide I did not cover this particular point, what to do, and then you keep lamenting, and then the rest of your presentation becomes all messy. Okay, don't do that. Share your personality. Don't try to be someone else. Okay, you don't have to imitate Shah Rukh Khan, you don't have to imitate Hrithik Roshan during your presentation. Just be yourself. So what happens is, when you be yourself, and if you fake something, right, people kind of understand that you're faking it. It's not rocket science. Like, you yourself are in the audience, imagine, and someone is coming and completely faking it. You kind of understand that, yes, this person is actually not being himself here. So that is very important. Just show your personality, whatever you are. That way the audience will understand that, yes, this is a genuine person who is trying his level best to do a presentation here. So let me pay attention, right? So yeah, your audience will trust you if they see you, that you are a real person. Use your voice and hands effectively. So you should use your voice and hands in a way that will not distract the audience. Okay. And omit gestures that show nervousness. Okay. Like you're shivering, or, don't have those. And all this comes by practice, actually. All this comes by practice. And then during the presentation, again, you don't have to read. I already covered this point in the slide section, where so you don't have to read unless you have to. And it's best to work, as I said, from an outline. You have bullet points that you want to cover, and then during the presentation, you expand on those. Finish on time, right? This is again a very important thing, because this puts off many people. बोला था 1 घंटा, बिठा दिया 1.5 घंटा 2 घंटा, क्या है यार ये? Unless you really like the presentation, that's a different issue. But again, finishing on time, really, it helps bring out the correct message. Do something different to re-engage the audience every 8 to 10 minutes. As we saw, the average attention span of the audience is 8 to 10 minutes. After 8 to 10 minutes, if the content is monotonous, the audience loses interest, right? Eye contact is important, right? But don't do more than 3 seconds of eye contact at one person, otherwise that will become creepy. वो डर जाएगा, अरे क्या मैंने कुछ गलती किया क्या ऑडियंस में बैठ के, that this person is just looking at me. So yes, eye contact is important, but you should distribute your eye contact, through all the audience. Now in Zoom, of course, I can't see you guys, but then even if I did see you, it's not like making real eye contact because I'm seeing you on the screen. But again, this is very important, making eye contact. That way your people know that you're talking to them. And then use audio and visual aids effectively. Don't put unnecessarily too many smileys, too many emojis. It really puts off people. I mean, it's nowadays PowerPoint emojis, PowerPoint clip arts have become very, very common. Actually, I was reading that if you put PowerPoint emojis and clip art in your presentation, actually it's like a cliche nowadays. Like it's those days are gone when you used to have fun with PowerPoint clip art. And yeah, watch for feedback and adjust, right? So if you see that your audience is getting bored, if you see that your audience has a question mark on their face, you can adjust your style accordingly during the presentation. That way then you'll be able to retain the attention of the audience, right? And then finally, after the presentation, okay, what to do after the presentation? So mistakes happen, don't beat yourself up. So yes, mistakes might happen. Your charger might, your laptop might die during the presentation. The projector might stop functioning, or like in my case, the sharing doesn't happen on Google Slides via Zoom. So yes, mistakes happen, but you don't have to beat yourself up. And then you should focus on what you did good and carry that on in your future presentations. And you can note down where you went wrong and try to improve next time. And you can embrace the feedback constructively. Whatever feedback you get, you don't have to become defensive and say that, hey, maine ye nahi kiya and things like that. Because during the presentation, you're in a different mood altogether. And then certain things we might commit, certain mistakes we might commit, we might not even know. So take feedbacks constructively and work on them nicely. Right? So that's pretty much it from me. So just to summarize, we saw why to do presentations. We saw so many points there. We saw it boosts confidence, and we play the role of a leader in some way or the other. We have to present to some people in some way or the other. It's not that we live our entire lives without communicating, right? So that's why being a good public speaker, being a good presenter in general is very important. And then we saw what to do before. We saw that the important points about having a flow of your talk, writing your talk down if possible. And then not only that, but knowing your purpose, what you want to convey through the talk. And then knowing your audience, what level they are at. And then your environment where you're going to present and all those things. And then we saw some good practices if you're presenting slides, PowerPoint slides or Google Slides, etc. Then we went on what to do during the presentation. And then we saw so many important things there that we should use hand gestures properly. We should not become nervous, and we should not let nervousness affect the way we present. We should watch for feedback. And we should try to do something funny or something interesting every 8 to 10 minutes of the talk, so that the audience attention span is kept, right? And then this is assuming we prepared well. If we prepared well, then all the other things during the presentation, like body language, voice, etc., will be good. And then finally, after the presentation, you can thank the audience, of course, and then look for feedback. If there is any feedback, you can take it constructively, and that way you can be a good presenter. So again, as I said, this is not like an exhaustive presentation. There are so many other minor tips, small tips that you might not have seen in my presentation today, but then those are important. And based on your particular presentation use case, you can refer to those literatures, and then that way prepare your talk and deliver it. So yes, thank you very much for your patient hearing. I know there was a glitch in the beginning with the whole thing, but I'm very sorry about that. And I'll try to improve next time. If I happen to meet you all, I'll figure it out. I'll figure out Google Slides and Zoom. Okay. And yeah, thank you so much. If you have any questions, comments, feedback. So I'll first go with the questions in the chat. So Haresh asked how to overcome nervousness during presentation, right? And Ashik has the same question. So yes, nervousness during presentation can be avoided if we prepare well. That is the first thing, of course. We have to prepare well. We have to know the flow of the talk. And see, nervousness, we need to analyze why nervousness comes, right? Nervousness comes because we fear that something unexpected will happen. Something that is not what I had planned is going to happen, right? We have that fear, and that is the reason we become nervous. So that is why if you prepare well, if you do your homework well, then that scope of things going wrong actually reduce, and that's how you will automatically become less nervous. Actually, that is the thing. So yeah, I guess for nervousness you need to prepare well and make sure to know the flow of your talk so that nothing unexpected happens. And then even if something does happen unexpectedly, don't take it as a threat. Don't take it as a, oh my god, abhi kya ho gaya, what should I do now? My god, this person has said this, I can't even think of any answer. Okay, sometimes what I've understood is somebody asks me a question after a talk, and then sometimes I'm clueless about what to say, completely clueless, मालूम ही नहीं है क्या बोलूं अभी, no clue. That time, I think rather than speculating something, rather than कुछ फेंकने से अच्छा है, just humbly say to that person, look, I don't have an answer for you right now, but I'll note that down, I'll get back to you. Okay, that way that person will again see that you're genuine and you're trying to help, you're trying to answer the question that is being asked. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, Haresh. Yeah, Ganesh is asking, will I get notes or should I do it PPTs? In what context is this, Ganesh?
Sir, we will be sharing short notes with them.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, thank you. What should be memorized during a presentation? Is it the content or bullet points or else? So yeah, you need to memorize. You don't have to memorize it as it is. As I said, you have to know the flow. Like, for instance, yeah. I spoke about the internship elevator pitch, right? The 30-second elevator pitch that I did. So I had prepared that. That was a pre-planned thing. Okay. Now, when I planned that, okay, I'm going to talk to these students from Nanded, and then I'm going to quote this example about my internship. So that's all I know. That's all I have memorized. But I haven't memorized the exact words I'm speaking. Those words I made up on the fly, right? Like whatever I said about that elevator pitch, those words I made up on the fly. I did not memorize those words, right? Because you just remember, if you put too much emphasis on memorizing something, and then if you go wrong somewhere, if you forget some point, then you're like stuck. You can't move ahead from there. So don't memorize the entire talk like verbatim, but have a flow in mind. Okay, now I'm going to speak about this. Now I'm going to speak about this. Okay, for this particular point, I'm going to quote this example. These things you should memorize. These things you should know. And having notes always helps. Having presenter notes always helps. That is why I was so much into having my notes on the site. So that's the reason. Because without notes, I'm a little lost during presentations, right? Because I haven't memorized the presentation completely. I don't think that is a good practice to do, right? If you memorize the presentation completely, then yeah, I mean, you can cover the content, but then I don't know, it will not be like a genuine presentation if you've memorized everything and you're just vomiting it out during the session. So yeah. How to change language between presentation? Yeah, again, this goes back to knowing your audience, Harish. Very nice question. See, now you all are studying at Nanded. So I made an assumption that you all might know Hindi. So I was switching between Hindi and this thing, English. So I know that. But let's say I was presenting to somebody, a South Indian crowd, okay, a Tamil crowd, and they don't know Hindi, then switching languages is actually a problem. Then like I sometimes I present, so I present to students from New York University here, and then they actually are from different backgrounds in India. Not all of them know Hindi, right? So if I speak something Hindi there, and there are some Americans also who come, if I speak Hindi there, then that's going to put them off. They will think, what is this alien language this person is suddenly switching to? So yes, that you have to know the audience, and then if you feel comfortable with switching languages, then you should. Okay, then you should. But then you should have one language that is your main language of the session. Okay, in our case, it is English today, and then in between, I'm switching to Hindi sometimes. But don't don't like the audience thinks that okay, this is an English session, and then they come for the session, and then either sab Hindi chalu hai, everything is going on in Hindi. No, don't do that. Not like that. But if you want to make something funny, you want to make something humorous, you want to make something more relatable to the audience, then you can switch between languages, right? Thank you. Good questions, Harish. Very good questions. Yes, I'll share the PowerPoint. I'll share these slides with the organizers, and they'll share it with you. Okay, Aniket's question. Sir, at the time of presentation, we forget some words or some lines at that time, what we should do? Interesting question. If you forget the line, right? So again, this goes back to whether you are focusing on memorizing everything verbatim or not, right? So see, the good thing with bullet points, for instance, as I said, I was going to quote the example of my internship, right? Now, if I would have completely scripted that whole part, every word, and then if I would have forgotten some word, then I would have been lost. But then I didn't do that. I just said, okay, this is one thing that I'm going to talk about. Now, what exact words I use to talk about that thing, I haven't decided. That I will decide on the fly. It's like when you're talking to a friend, for example, okay, let's say you are arguing about something and your friend makes a point, and then to counter that point, you have 3 points. Now, when you're talking to a friend, sometimes you might forget one of the points, but that doesn't stop you from talking to the friend. You keep talking, and you might even say sometimes that, okay, I forgot this point. There was one more point I was thinking of, but I forgot about it. Okay. You might even say that, but that doesn't stop your flow of your conversation with the friend. So think about it that way. You know the points that you want to cover, and then you kind of expand on those points during the session itself. Okay. Again, it's not that, don't leave it completely on, expanding during the session itself. You can even if you want to quote some example, even within that example, you might not want to miss out on certain important points. Okay, certain important points, facts that the audience should know. So those facts, again, you should note down, and then you can tell those facts to the audience in your own words when you are presenting, right? So like that. But yeah, see, you don't have to see presentation as something different from a conversation. That is the underlying thing that I would say. See the presentation as a conversation that is happening. Although the majority of the speaking is being done by you, but still, I guess what I feel is you should see that as a conversation. You should see that as, something like you're sharing some ideas with a friend. And that way you can develop. Okay. Thank you. Very good question, Aniket. Thank you. And Aryan has a question: how to react to negative response during presentation? So this is something that will come by experience, and so I'll share my own experience. So one day I was presenting on a particular topic, and then I asked a question to the audience, and then the audience was not ready to answer. So what I did was I picked one person. I said, so what is your answer for this thing? So that person gave a completely different answer than I was expecting. That answer actually completely destroyed my flow of the talk. Completely. So it was like a negative response in a way. But then, and I got completely nervous at that point. Although I knew the session, I had delivered it a couple of times before. But yeah, it's a problem. And then, but I guess for this, you have to kind of actually watching presentations also helps here, because when you watch presentations done by very expert people, they have very unique ways of responding to negative responses during presentation, right? Somebody is uh, somebody is presenting, and then the audience, they just, one of the audience, one person in the audience just stands up and says, this is all nonsense, what are you saying? Now at that point, it will depend on the experience of the presenter, the expertise of the presenter, as to how he or she handles that. So yeah, I guess that comes by experience, and you can kind of make it funny also, right? You can try to make it funny, give a funny response to the negative response. That way people are all chilled, and they also have a good laugh, and you can continue with the presentation. So yes, and then even if you can't think of a funny response, then just maybe request that, hey, I really respect what you're saying here, I really respect your opinion, but please let me complete the presentation, then perhaps we'll talk about it. That also works. You don't have to fake doing a negative, like a funny response to something negative during the presentation, right? But yeah, experience is very important there, and watching more presentations is also good. So question by Afa, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Sir, how to build vocabulary for effective English communication? Yeah, very good question. Very good question. How to improve vocabulary? See, the thing with vocabulary is you have to keep reading more and more. You should keep reading more and more, and only that will kind of help you increase your vocabulary. Otherwise, we can spend hours and hours on Instagram, we can spend hours and hours on TikTok, but that's not going to help our vocabulary. If we read a lot, then I guess that will help. If we read, or if we watch a lot of presentations, or yeah, but I guess reading is the main thing for me, at least. Reading is the main thing that has helped me increase my vocabulary for English. So yeah, I guess one tip I could give is to read more and more. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. So thank you very much for your wonderful questions, and thank you for your compliments as well. Again, I am sorry for the glitch in the beginning, but yeah, all good. So yeah, if you have any feedback, if you have any comments, if you think I should improve somewhere, please let the organizers know. Please let me know personally. Connect with me on LinkedIn if you want, and yeah, we'll take it from there. But yeah, I hope I added some value to your knowledge. I hope I gave you some points to take home, and yeah, be connected to your seniors here. They will give you many tips as to how to improve more in these things. So thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for this wonderful session. And you could see whatever point you were mentioning in that presentation. You could see all the points were there in your presentation. We got the theory also, and we got the live example also for all this session. And the intermediate interruptions which were there during the session. I was
That's okay.
yes, I was looking for summary, but already you have like summarized the whole thing. But just one two things I would like to tell. Like you during a presentation, you are telling that be whatever you are, and generally I see that if we go for a giving presentation, the main mistake people do, they try to do something extra. So that point you mentioned very well. And after in the point which you mentioned after presentation, what we should do. In that you mentioned that don't beat for mistakes. And that's why uh, we can develop ourselves and give the more effective presentation which is are there in our future. Yes, thank you very much, sir, for this session again. And we also you very nicely answer all the questions which were coming from the audience very nicely by giving your personalized examples also, and which were there in real world examples also. And also one more thing I saw in your presentation, that statistics were there for each section. Statistics were there, so we, all the statistics were very helpful for audience to be focused and give attention. Thank you very much, sir, and we look for your association in our future. Thank
Sure.
you very
Same
much.
here. Same here. Same here. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll end the session. Thank you.